And we are live. Welcome to episode 147 of Beastly Thoughts Live.
Yeah.
Woo! What's going on, guys? We got some exciting news. We got a new co-host, Gary Diaz. Gary, thank you so much for coming on. We really do appreciate it. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me, guys. As you can probably tell from the accent, I am not one of your countrymen, or yours, Robbie. From Britain. I've been playing games for best part of 22 years now, maybe 23 years, somewhere along the lines. The guys wanted to get some British class on the podcast, but unfortunately my name is Bife was already booked, so they ended up with a diet version.
Oh no,
Diet Bife.
I know, Diet Bife. Yeah. Sad about it. But yeah, no, multi-platform gamer, PC, Xbox, play. Well, pretty much if it plays games, I've got it. Joined Briar on the VR revolution, so we've both got $800 paperweights currently on our desks, which is nice. Yeah, but it really got into gaming in a big way with MMOs on PC. So I think I've clocked 10,000 hours maybe on World of Warcraft. I'm that nerd. And almost 2,000 on Destiny, which is how I got introduced to this motley crew. But yeah, glad to be here and hopefully won't disappoint.
Thank you. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. We actually, I had my first talk with Gary the day before yesterday. We had like this undercover secret meeting, so to speak. And I was very pleased.
It was real serious how this thing went down, too. It was like only the most professional of conversations.
Oh, for us, we are professional in everything we do.
Yes. Yeah, but, you know, before I got to actually meet Gary, I told him about some crazy stuff that was happening in my house. And that was kind of his introduction to me and this crazy news that I got Friday. But I think you're going to definitely be a huge addition to the show. I've talked to you, not extensively, but through our few conversations, you're very knowledgeable on myriad video game topics, genres, games, consoles, amiibos, as we found out during our private meeting. And I just want to extend, yes, I want to extend my thanks to you coming and becoming a fixture on the Beastly Thoughts show.
And Ghost is in chat saying, I kind of imagined him having a mustache and a top hat, and I kind of agreed. I was a little surprised.
And the monocle, too.
Yeah, where's the monocle?
I'm gonna work on the mustache. It's been 30 years so far with no success, but I'm confident that in 7 days we can do it.
20 years and I'm feeling it, brother. So yeah. Know how you feel.
All right, we got some really exciting stuff to talk about today. I know Gary's been playing Mass Effect. We definitely want to talk about some Mass Effect Andromeda. Beastly, what have you been up to this week?
This week, I'm so close to the end of Horizon Zero Dawn. We talked about this day before yesterday. I wanted to have it complete, and I wanted to spend yesterday on The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. But as you continue in this game, other avenues open up and new experiences, side quests, and errands. And I don't want to rush it. I'm so close to the end. I feel like once I get there, it's going to be very satisfying. And I think it's going to be worth me taking my time and enjoying it. And I feel sorry that I let you down, Briar, because you did ask me. You said, Beastly, have that shit beat by Saturday at the latest.
Yeah.
Because I want you to play The Legend of Zelda. And I really wanted to. And then Saturday came and I was like, man, I'm letting Briar down, but there's probably been about 25 games I asked him to play, and he looked at me and said, fuck you, Destiny. So
false argument. Don't try and offload your responsibilities onto me.
But that was my week, and it's been a great week with Horizon. I'm still enjoying
we look forward to hearing what you think about Zelda next year.
In 2018.
It'll be next week because I could take that everywhere I go, which is something I've been looking forward to that kind of experience pretty much for the last 10 years to be able to take a console quality experience on the go with me. So other than the Sega Nomad, and these little systems that play Super Nintendo games on the go, we haven't really had that until now. So I'm looking forward.
You have been playing Zelda, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? You didn't seem real excited about it before the show.
No, he should.
Yeah, and before I get into it, I want to preface this and say I love the game. I think it's fantastic. It hasn't hooked me in the same way I feel like with a lot of other people because it's getting tens over the place. People love the shit out of this game. Mm-hmm. I think it's a fantastic game too. I really do think it's a special game. How far did you get? So much fun. Sorry, what?
How far did you get in the game?
I'm about 20 hours in, and as much as I'm enjoying it, for some reason, I don't find myself like dying to get back into it. Maybe it's just life caught up with me, and I haven't been doing much gaming this week. I don't really know. I mean, I'm gonna say though, the game is wonderful. I really do love it, but I just hear so much about how everyone can't stop playing this game and how it's incredible, it's magical. I don't quite feel that way. I don't think the game is a 10 out of 10, to be honest.
Like, what is it that... Is it the world? Is it the style of the game? Is it boring you?
No,
how many hours
it's not.
Are you into it? I'm sorry. How many hours are you into it?
Around 20, 25 hours, and I am a ways in the story. Yeah, I'm deep in. I've gotten through quite a bit of the world. Like I said, I think everything the game does it does really well. But there's just something about it where I'm like, I don't feel like this is like blowing me the hell away. Like, I really think it's great, and I'm really enjoying my time with it, but not quite as much as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me.
My experience of Zelda, and I think the best way I've heard it, and just to cards on the table, to me, it's one of the greatest of all time. Absolute masterpiece. The best way I've heard Breath of the Wild described is that the entire game is a quest for confidence. And I think that's a really accurate representation. So the game opens up and says, hey, go and kill the main boss. Go do what you want. The only gate to doing that is your confidence and ability in doing so. So you play the game until you're at a point when you feel ready to go and storm those gates and fight Ganon. And the story itself is vanilla. It's go and capture save the princess, kill the demon. Mm-hmm. But where the story has evolved and where I've seen real nuance to the story is the stories that you create telling your friends. You speak to them the next day and say, hey, what did you do last night? Oh, you see that? Oh, how did you solve that? Oh, you went to this place and you did that? Oh, my God, have you been here? All these other stories and the nuance in it. And to me, I'd say, are you talking to people about Zelda? Is it something that you're sharing? Because I think once you start sharing those stories is probably where the game will start to grab you and you'll remember some of the real compelling gameplay moments that you had.
For me, the game it reminds me a lot of like the first time I played Grand Theft Auto, whereas like the story didn't catch me at all. I think it was Grand Theft Auto 3, where the story didn't really catch me at all. But what was amazing was the way I was figuring out how to solve problems in that game and navigating the world and being confronted with this like open world like for the first time. Zelda has that for me, but the world is so much more interesting and it's so huge, and it seems like everywhere I go, I'm so distracted by like, oh, there's 6 rocks forming a circle in this river, and there's a bunch of rocks up on this bridge. This has got to be something, right? So all of a sudden I start trying to figure out how to do like a basket with these rocks to get them into that hole, and like, well, I can't throw it far enough, so then I'll try and freeze time and smash it and try and get it in there. And like, these kind of things just like strewn throughout the world. It just made it so interesting, so interactive to be in there. Like,
I'm sorry, I've never played this game and I haven't done any Let's Plays. I haven't seen anybody play it. You said freeze time. You have those kind of abilities in this game too?
Yeah, you have like the first thing you do, or the first couple of things you do, is just go and get all your base abilities like right off the bat. And that kind of teaches you how to play the game, like right up front, and gives you, just basic abilities. Like you can throw bombs, you can freeze time, you can do a bunch of stuff like that. And then it's up to you for the rest of the game to figure out new and inventive ways of using those abilities and sometimes in ways that developers never intended, to just like do all sorts of cool stuff.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the game rewards creativity in a big way, and the examples that Briar gave of those rocks, you're rarely shortchanged. So if you see something that you think is probably going to give you some sort of reward or have some sort of interest, 100% of the time it does. You don't ever get shortchanged.
Well, real quick, and I'm sorry, Robbie, you're not feeling this game as much as a lot of people are. And there was an interesting question by Narcissus, who asked, do you think it's been overhyped so much that when you finally...
I think it personally has been. Like I said, I really liked the game, but it didn't knock my socks off. Like, it didn't blow me the heck away, because people were just talking about this game like it's the best game ever made, and I see where people are coming from, but it's not that good. Like, it's really good, but it's not, like, unbelievably good. I don't think it is.
I couldn't disagree more with Robbie. I can understand that if... not every movie is made for every person. Not every game is going to appeal to every person.
Right.
But for me, this game is absolutely knocking my socks off. It deserves every accolade. That
I'm glad it is.
gotten.
I'm glad you're enjoying
And,
it so much.
Like, it's without a doubt going to be in the Game of the Year conversations at the end of the year, and it's hard to imagine something topping it. Like, it's hard to imagine.
This is where I've come away from this conversation. During our little introduction earlier, well, I guess late last week when I actually met Gary on our Skype conversation, he said something to me that kind of threw me back a little bit. And I talked to my wife about it afterwards. I said the way that he described this experience, and he was, contrasting the two, Horizon Zero Dawn and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I think he really nailed it, at least from the Horizon perspective that I've seen. It's a very well-crafted narrative that's placed in this beautiful open world. But the way he described The Legend of Zelda is something that I haven't really experienced. And really, he said it transcends all genres, that he feels that this game is important to the gaming ecosystem, kind of the way some of the early Marios and original Zeldas were. He feels like this is kind of turning that whole open world genre on its ear and doing so many things better and new that is going to be looked back. He said for 10, 20, 30 years, people are going to look back at this game, and I haven't played it. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm so close, I promise, to playing it.
But just the difference of, like, because everybody just came off of Horizon Zero Dawn and went into Zelda, right?
Yeah.
And Horizon Zero Dawn does open world games very well, and it's got a very compelling story, and the combat is very cool. But then you play Zelda, and it takes a lot of those ideas, throws them out. Like, it's got the towers, like, have been in Assassin's Creed games and now just got adopted by every open world game from here on forth. It's got those, but instead of unveiling like every little minuscule thing on your map, it empowers you as a player to just be in a high spot and look around and find those things yourself. To me, that's way more compelling than just all of a sudden having a map that has so much shit on it that I don't even want to look at it.
I definitely agree with
it's
that.
just confusing.
Yeah. Just checkbox the map. Like tons of open world games have done that.
Yeah.
Exactly. The revelatory thing for me is that every open world game that's come out in the past 4 to 5 years has tried to put more and more and more into the world. So you open your mini map and you're completely overwhelmed. You think, I don't want to get into this. There's there's stuff everywhere. What's this marker? What's this? What's that? Oh, I've got to run there. Zelda starts off with a completely empty map. You don't even have a map tile. You have nothing at all until you reach a tower and you scan and you find that small segment of the map. And then, as Briar said, it's all investigatory journeys. So you search out with your eyes in the game. You're not using the minimap. The minimap is a subsequent thing that's fed from your in-game discovery. You open the minimap from discoveries made in-game. And to me, it's the way that it's revealed in bite-sized chunks rather than overwhelming you up front is what is that dopamine drip that keeps you exploring and keeps you looking. And it's what's turned me off games like Mass Effect, where, and we'll get into that later, you play the game and then you hit a level and they're like, right, assign your stat IPs and look at the world and here's all the things you can collect and here's the... It's just too much. It's information overload.
It's skill trees, and they chock games full of just things to do and things to level up for. I do love that Zelda strips it all away and manages to stay really good. Like, it's really fun, though. Yeah.
Let's talk
and I'll say it as many times as I have to. I like the game a lot. Like, I really, really do. But it's not, again, it didn't, like, blow me the hell away. I cannot say that enough. I still like it a lot.
And we respect that opinion, Robbie. Not everybody in China likes rice, Right. So it's totally understandable that certain people are not going to like this game. But I think that what these guys are saying is the majority of people find it phenomenal, and I can't wait to give my go at the game. And
I'm glad everyone's loving the game. Like, that's awesome, right? We all want to enjoy games. That's so good to hear. And all
right, let's move on. We've talked about Zelda enough. Let's talk about Mass Effect. So I haven't played it. I don't think anybody's played it except for Gary. Gary, you've been on the preview program, right? The EA preview program. I've watched about 2 hours of it, and that's about as much as I need to see to say, wow, this doesn't look very good.
Oh man,
it's a little rough around the edges. Let's say that.
So what do you think, Gary? You've put 10 hours into it. What do you think?
Okay, so to qualify it as well, I'll put cards on the table and say I have not played any Mass Effect before this. Had the opportunity to, but haven't. Saying that, the developers have openly said that Andromeda would be the game that they made had they not made the Mass Effect trilogy beforehand. So it draws upon the lessons learned from the trilogy before, but tries to innovate and depart away. So I don't feel that should be influencing my decision of whether or not it's a good game. Play the early access, so it is a very, very limited. It's not 10 hours solid. You can probably complete the prologue that they give you in around 3 to 4. 10 if you're doing all the side quests and wandering around, and there's unlimited multiplayer. I don't want to be too derogatory of it, because I feel that to judge a game on your first impressions of a training area or prologue would be dismissive, and I think Horizon was a slow burner starter as well, and the story in that game really blew me away once we got into the meat and bones of it. But
to be fair, though, they're putting themselves in this position, right? I mean, they're coming out and saying, here's the first 10 hours, you can play 10 hours. You know, that's supposed to sell a game.
Right.
I think it's having the opposite effect.
So to me, the three things that I've noted down as real concerns or areas for concern on me is that there's nothing compelling me to play it anymore. I'm forcing myself to play it just because I should, because it's got Mass Effect in the title. And I'm told that this is a big game. You know, in the same way that
right,
you should be playing it, so maybe something will jump off the table to me. Nothing is. The combat, you can tell it's the Frostbite 3 engine. So if anyone here has played Battlefront recently, the level that you get as Darth Vader in the ice cave, where you're sort of throwing your lance and that weird sort of gliding jump that he does, they've introduced that as a movement mechanic. It feels there's no kinesthesia to it. It feels weightless. I feel like I'm just a weightless object moving around the map. Wow. The melee is very loose. You know, you can be 20-30 degrees off of a target and just whiff
like
where you're punching. Well, no, that's got 180-degree tracking on the Warlock punch. But this is just the combat feels very loose.
Fuck you, bro.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel tight at all to you, Gary? You feel like it's just not really doing it well?
It doesn't feel like Frostbite in the Battlefield sense. It feels like Frostbite in the Battlefront sense, where it's an arcadey base feel. I don't feel like I've got any reticle control that much. I played it on keyboard and mouse and controller to see if there's a difference. And coming from Destiny, where movement and shooting mechanics are really the standouts of the game, this doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like a combat system that gets me hooked. And I've heard reviewers praising the combat system. The other area, or the last area that I wanted to talk about is I don't want to talk about facial animation because I feel that that's beating a dead horse, and that's being everyone
knows
it is
about
notable.
That, yeah.
I mean, it's like, wow.
But the lines of dialogue to me, now the developer made a point of saying this game has got more spoken dialogue than all three of the other Mass Effects put together, and you can tell because they have hired script writers in bulk. And people to write some terrible. I made a note of a line here, which is that there's a class or a role called a Pathfinder, which is one of the first characters you encounter in the game. You know, you're trying to aspire to be a Pathfinder, and they actually did the line, "To be a Pathfinder, you first got to find a path." And to me, it's cheesy dialogue like that. You know, and things like "my face is tired." It's just things of that nature that you see.
My face is tired. I remember that one. Oh, jeez, that's bad. Yeah.
She says, I can't talk anymore. My face is tired.
And her face is like stiff, too. Her face has no emotion whatsoever.
So to me, maybe there's a compelling story somewhere down the line, but you have to wade through mountains
that
of
is the rumor,
inane
right?
side quests.
Maybe. The embargoes aren't up yet, so the full reviews aren't up yet. But like the rumor is that, yeah, it's a slow starter, but the story does get going. But if the dialogue is boring, it's all voice acted, right? There's no reading.
Yeah, it's all voice acted. So they've paid for. You can tell the quality of when someone's a side quest character and when someone's a main character. The side guys,
like in Horizon, okay.
They've dialed it in, and the same as well. If you customize your character's face to get, which is god awful, don't do it. Please don't do it. You end up with a potato with strange features.
Doing it.
I always wanted to be a potato, though. What's wrong with that?
It's a massive step. If you use the stock character, the facial animations aren't bad. But for everyone else in the game or anything that's customized, you look like a strange android-like sex doll. It's really not good.
I've never seen one of those. That would be awesome. I don't know if you guys remember when we first got the reveal for Andromeda. We did the show, and during the show, I told you guys that one thing from the trailer that turned me off was the cheesy dialogue, just in that trailer. I said it felt cheesy to me. Do you guys remember? And it seems like that's something that's permeating through the game, and that's something I can't really get behind.
Mass Effect has been all about the story, right?
All story, yeah.
Like it's never rested on its combat. They got better at combat, I feel like, over time.
Oh yeah.
Like in Mass Effect 1, it was a little shaky. But it's
2
the story.
Good,
it's this
awesome,
huge universe. It's these really interesting characters. It's your crew. It's these missions where you go just to earn loyalty with your crew and to find out more about your crew. It's, love affairs with crew members. It's, it's Star Trek. It's very Star Trek in that way, where it's all about the stories. It's all about the interactions with the different characters. It's never really been about the combat. But if the combat's not fun, that's a bummer. Yeah. And if the story isn't told in a compelling way, even if it's a good story, that could really throw a
especially for Mass Effect when people have those expectations, right? Like they really need to deliver on this. It's a new studio as well. That's very important for them. And these early signs just are very worrying. Like I'm definitely concerned, and we all should be, but it's good to temper those expectations, like if we're getting reports that, maybe it's not going to be so good, it's good to get it out there and so people know, and, just so we don't get too excited.
I got to say, I watched 2 hours of it, and I got to say, the facial animations do detract from the game.
Like, they're worse.
Noticeable.
Awkward.
Like it just it draws you away from what they're saying to just be like focusing on like that looks so weird.
Well, like what the hell?
It's not just the faces as well; it's the character movement animation. Yeah. So during the cutscenes, you've probably all seen the meme of the weird little funny legs and the Vince McMahon sort of swagger walk. You get it's really you think this is meant to be impactful. So the woman in question in that, again, no story spoiler. She says something that's quite deep and talking about something that has been a recent personal tragedy, and then just sort of strolls off like as if like it's just completely takes you out of the immersion.
This is the risk, right? Putting out a 10-hour demo of a game, that's a major risk, and if it goes badly, you can cost yourself. Like I feel like the hype going into this week for Mass Effect Andromeda was like rocketing up there. Like everybody's so hyped. We got Horizon, then Zelda, and then Andromeda's coming at the end of the month, and then
it just went straight down.
Yeah, this is the same effect. Effect, so to speak, that Nintendo's Switch conference had on the Nintendo Switch hype. And people, the way that they revealed it and the way they talked about it, people were less enthusiastic about it after they revealed than they were before. And it seems like people have gotten their eyes and ears on this game are kind of feeling the same way. That's something that's really weird to me. As someone who beat all 3 Mass Effect games, when I saw Andromeda and I saw the character models and I saw the way that they moved and the way they talked, I felt like it didn't look as good as Mass Effect 3. Is that weird? Gary, I know you didn't play those other ones, but the other character models, Miranda, even Edie, who was android, they all seemed so much. They were presented in a much better fashion. They looked better. They looked more realistic, and these characters to me just look super generic. They look like generics, and maybe I'm not the only one who feels that way. It sounds like that's kind of the consensus for people who've seen the game, and that's really not a good thing for a game like Mass Effect.
I feel like they got the online co-op, the multiplayer right. I feel like that's kind of fun. Feels very much like it's a horde mode wave-based multiplayer. You may have seen it, Briar, and have some comments on that. Feels like Prison of Elders almost, with a little bit more dynamism in character movement. So that's something. But then I've heard, I don't know this, so I can't comment there, but I've heard that the networking feels a little bit wonky in that as well. I don't know if it's peer-to-peer or dedicated. There were some red bars in my lobby. It's early access, so difficult to comment.
Hopefully, here's what I'm hoping with this game, is that it comes out, it gets a good enough reception that they patch it.
Right.
Then, this summer, it's all patched up and looking good, and then it's time to play it.
It's a big ass patch to fix all the voice acting in the game, though.
That is a big patch.
Yeah.
Man, I'm really debating on whether I'm going to buy this game now. Like, I really am. Because I've got
That's
so much
crazy.
on my plate right now. I've been looking forward to Andromeda. You know, the Mass Effect series is one of my favorite series of all times. Like, they're just so good. But right now,
am I the only
I don't know
one
if this is
that
a good
thinks?
game.
Am I the only one that thinks that Club Afterlife for Mass Effect 2 would make a great real club? Like, would you get sued out of your mind if you tried to build that thing?
Yeah, horrible club. There's like 7 people in there.
Yeah, and there's like a bottomless pit in the middle of it
Lame.
too. So, yeah. So we got a little bit of news for episode 147 of the Beastly Thoughts live show. Robbie, would you like to get us started?
Yeah, for sure. So the first news was pretty much exactly what we just talked about. It was about Andromeda, dialogue, and then the controversy over the facial characters. So I guess we'll get into the next part of the news. All right. So Sony will soon be bringing the ability to stream PS4 games via PlayStation Now, in addition to the approximately 480 PS3 titles currently available. I wonder if this is going to take off or not, man. Because who streams games, really? Like, who actually uses PlayStation Now?
It feels like it's a direct response to Xbox.
It is.
Game Pass,
Certainly
maybe?
is.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be able to play PS4 games, those exclusives of the PlayStation that these ponies can't stand anybody else enjoying.
I don't know how I feel about this. Like,
it's good for everybody, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
it seems like a good thing. It's just not as good as being able to download the game and play it locally.
Yeah.
It seemed like that would be the next move in the evolution of this kind of move forward. But for people who don't have PS4s and they have the PlayStation Now service and they've got a PC that's able to stream it,
yeah,
and
I guess
play
on
it
PC that would be really good. Being able to stream that on there, that's cool.
This will be the first time for many of these games that they've ever been on a PC platform, even though it's streaming. People who have PCs have never been able to play the Uncharted series or Bloodborne, and so now, as long as these games are pulled over to the PlayStation Now service, they'll be able to play them on PC. I think it's really good for everybody involved.
I've got a bit of a devil's advocate on that one.
Let me hear it.
PC gamers, generally speaking, of all the different platforms, are the least budgetary constrained gamers. To be on a PC, it's a high entry price. If I were to buy were to see all these great exclusives that I really wanted to, would $200, which is only 10 months subscription to PlayStation Now, really be the thing that's stopping me purchasing that system or playing those games?
It's a great point. You're a hell of a devil, man. It's a great alternate point.
I'm just saying, if I'm spending $700-800 on a graphics card alone to keep myself current, what's to stop me spending $200 on a 6-year piece of hardware?
I mean, yeah, and as far as budgetary constraint, a lot of people on PCs, but then again, there are a lot of children who rely on their parents to buy their PCs, and they get a new PC once every year, every 2 years, and for those kids, a subscription service just might make sense. I mean,
the thing with PC gamers too is if they aren't budgetary strained, you'd never fucking know it by reading a forum where they're bitching about the prices of VR games at $20 a pop. They just bought a $2,000 PC, an $800 headset, and they're horribly pissed off about a $20 VR game.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not in that circle yet. Briar, you crossed that line. You are now a PC elitist. One of these days, I'll definitely be there. Continuing on with our news, the Nintendo Switch has reportedly sold approximately 1.5 million units worldwide during its first week on sale. Unsurprisingly, an estimated 89% of those who purchased the Nintendo Switch also bought The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild with the console.
Wait, how many people didn't? Like, why would you?
11%.
I really want that 1-2 Switch. Do you have 1-2 Switch?
Oh,
yeah,
man, I gotta have 1-2 Switch for this console. This is what I buy it for.
I think 10% margin could be in scalper territory. 10% probably bought it exclusively as a resale proposition. So that makes sense to me.
That makes sense.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But I mean, talking about the Switch, we had a very, very quick discussion, didn't we, before the show went live about Breath of the Wild, and obviously it's a great game. But moreover, I think there's some great capability on the Switch that we're sleeping on. So, Briar, you've got some indie titles that you've been playing, and some of Shovel Knight and other things which you've spoken highly of. And myself, I feel like the Switch is going to live and die by the indie catalog that it has. The idea, if you've got the Switch out at a friend's house, or you've been talking to a colleague, and you're able to put your Switch down on the desk, hand them a Joy-Con, and play a game like Bomberman in local co-op, and get that gaming fix on the go. To me, that's Nintendo delivering on the promise that they showed in the demos. If you watch their announced trailer back, how many of those shots were one guy sitting alone in a room? It either started with one guy sitting alone in a room and then he went out and played somewhere else, or they went and joined a party, or it was a group of people that were playing in a social environment. And to me, that's where the Switch is incomparable to a PC, PS4 or Xbox. It's where it plays in its own ballpark. And to me, that's
all those
special.
Indie games that have come out lately that are local multiplayer too. Like, I mean, that'd be perfect. You know, you don't have to develop any netcode to put it on the Switch. You just have local multiplayer and the Joy-Cons are built in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you imagine the old Super Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, all these great games that you remember from your childhood, or Robbie from your parents. Just saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Where have you been our whole life, Gary? You should have been here for episode 1.
But yeah, those games, you know, if I can be out with a friend and say, man, do you remember that Golden Axe? It's like, oh shit, yeah, that was great. Go, let's play it right now. Pull it out, give them a Joy-Con, have an hour fix. You know, battery life's not a concern. I'm not going to be sitting there for 6 hours in this park. It's cold. It's dark. I'm going home. You know, to me, that's what it's for.
Can't play Golden Axe for 6 hours either.
Complete the game. But no, to me, that's where the Switch is really unique, and that's to me where it's worth the entry price. Is that I've got a social. It's bringing back couch co-op, and it's taking your couch out on the go with you. You don't have to invite your friends over.
Yeah, that's compelling. I love the fact that the Switch hardware, while it's not perfect, is ingenious in that you can be playing the same game on your TV. You know, if I'm playing Shovel Knight on my TV, you just grab it. I feel like going to lay down in bed. Maybe the wife wants to watch a movie. I can grab it, watch a chick flick, and half pay attention to the movie, half pay attention to, Master Blaster. That kind of experience is cool. I wonder how much success they're going to have bringing indie titles to the Switch because Steam's already got this like fully built out, system for bringing in indie titles. PlayStation has done a much better job getting indie titles in this generation. Xbox is really aggressively trying to pull them in. So Nintendo, with a very different architecture to develop for, a very different operating system, and very little in the way of like support on the platform for anything. I mean, you look at the platform; it's basically empty right now. There's nothing on it, right? There's like 8 games in the store, and that's it. Like there's. So how do you draw in those indies to say, yeah, this is a great place to develop? Nintendo's got to go out there and get that done.
It has to be an advertised initiative. They've got to let their consumers know that this is going to be the place for that, and then, of course, they got to start building relationships. I'm also excited to see what, if any, third-party support the Switch is going to have. To me, I'm still really excited about playing the Elder Scrolls Skyrim on the go on my Nintendo Switch. To me, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal to me. And I want to see what other kinds of acquisitions Nintendo's able to acquire and put on this console for people who like, kind of big budget games that may have been out 5 or 6 years ago and really want to play them on the go.
So there was a good article, and apologies, Robbie, if it's later in the news that came out this week that was actually trying to discredit the Switch a little bit. That said, at the GDC conference this year, a survey went out prior to the conference for all the developers at the Games Development Conference. Should clarify, to talk about which developers are currently, what platforms are you currently developing for, and out of 4,500 surveyed responses, 3% said the Switch. So straight away you think, shit, 53% are developing for PC, 27% for PS4, something along those lines. And I think 45% are developing for mobile and Android. Actually, that in itself is quite telling. Now, the Switch, whilst 3% are developing specifically for it, uses the X1 Tegra chip. So people that are developing for mobile, generally, a lot of the phones on the market are using the X1 Tegra, at least the top-end mobiles and tablets. That's a pretty easy switch over to, and it's recently been in a hardware strip down. They recently discovered that the Switch uses, it's not custom, it is a stock
It is a Tegra.
Yeah. So to me, the fact that it's 3% developing specifically for the Switch is actually a positive that you've got 45% developing for mobile. Because a mobile game in itself,
48%.
Yeah.
If all I get those mobile games, I'm never going to play them. I don't play them on my phone. I'm not going to play them on the Switch either.
No, I hear you. But it's at least telling that there's people out there with the experience and skill set to code for mobile and the Tegra chip.
And that technology and those type of games can just easily be ported right to the Switch if they would be, I guess, received well on actual tangible console versus some touchscreen or phone type of experience. I can't stand playing games on my phones. There's usually 1 or 2 games per year that I'll play.
There are some fun phone games out there.
Hey, you just said The Legend of Zelda wasn't good. You're not allowed to talk about this anymore.
Your opinion is.
When did I say it wasn't good? Well, I didn't say that.
We're gonna have to play back the tape.
Yeah. I got a course in
slow-mo.
And I quote, all right, continuing on, PlayStation Plus free games for the month of April have been revealed, and the long-awaited multiplayer shooter Drawn to Death will be free for everyone starting on April 4th.
That game looks so cool. I'm so glad it's finally coming out. Like, that was announced
Is David Jaffe? Is he the one making this?
Yeah, David Jaffe's studio. This is like the multiplayer shooter and like the setting the kids like drawing kind of. So it's like all these paper drawings. It looks really cool though. It's a really cool idea.
And it's going to be free, so fuck it.
Yeah, I'm excited to play this. We should all get down on this.
Hopefully this is like this year's Rocket League,
right? Rocket League.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's what I was thinking.
And Rocket League set that precedent. And before Rocket League, the idea of releasing a game brand new on PlayStation Plus was kind of like the death rattle. I mean, it was usually a bad thing, but now it's not seen that way, especially if you have something exciting. And I think Rocket League did it right. There's other games that have been touting that Rocket League type of experience, but I've yet to see any PlayStation Plus, Xbox Live Games with Gold experience that has had that same pedigree or that same type of gravitation for gamers yet. So we'll see if Drawn to Death has it. Heard a lot of mixed things about this game. Heard many people say it was a really bad idea to put it out there for free. So we'll see what happens.
Well, the key is the way they monetized it after the fact, too, right? Not only it got them a ton of press, so once it wasn't free anymore, people kept buying it. People were buying it the whole time on PC, and they could play with PS4 players. But then they also started selling DLC in small bite-sized chunks, which was really smart. So they were monetizing all the people who got it for free.
That launch.
It was a big deal.
Really did.
It was a big deal. It was a fun game, though. I mean,
it still is.
Very fun.
It's still one of the great. I mean, I don't know if we can call it a sports game or a racing kart type of game, but it's still, to me, it sits at the top of that hill by itself. There's really nothing out there to me that's quite as fun.
Talking about DLC, this is more of the quick one-off question just for Briar there. We didn't cover it off in the Zelda piece, but how are you feeling now about the expansion pass for Zelda? Because a lot of people were negative going in, but now having played and potentially almost completed the game, what's your feeling towards DLC on Zelda?
I mean, I certainly don't feel like I'm getting undervalued on the $60 purchase price. So if they, if they bring out, it's $20 for a season pass. Am I wrong? There's going to be 2 updates.
Yeah.
It's $20. Relatively cheap. So
yeah, that's not too bad. I mean, if I felt like, it was stuff that had been taken out of the game that should have been in the game for 60, I might feel differently. But I mean, this thing is content galore. I'm looking forward to whatever they put in there. A hard mode, whatever.
Quick question, guys. I believe you said you're 120 hours already, Gary, into The Legend of Zelda. Briar, how many hours have you put in, and do you guys feel like there's still lots of stuff to do?
Oh, yeah. I'm only I'd be stretching it to say 20 hours.
You can get tons of hours out of this game. Like, there's just so much to it even beyond what it initially seems. I could definitely tell that.
Sure. So Robbie, are you a Zelda fan? I mean, have you ever been like a real fan of Zelda?
Am I a real Zelda fan? Like, you're a real Final Fantasy fan?
Yeah, exactly, Robbie.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, basically, if you play Zelda half as much as you played Final Fantasy 15, then you're going to have a lot to talk about next week.
Oh, man, I can't wait.
Have you really booted that game up yet, Beastly? Final Fantasy?
No, I haven't even started.
Oh, for God's sakes, Beastly.
Real fan.
Wow. You know who's disappointing you right now, Beastly?
Fan.
Who?
You are. You are.
Damn it, you bastards just turned my whole joke around on me. Let's just stay with the topic of DLC. Horizon Zero Dawn has sold more than 2.6 million copies worldwide, becoming the best-selling IP ever on PS4. In addition, Guerrilla Games director Herman Hulse also confirmed that new story DLC for Horizon is on the way. I feel the exact same way that you just stated, Briar. For $60, this game was worth it just on every aspect of the game. The gameplay, the world, there's so much to do and explore. And I honestly feel like even after I beat the game, I can still linger around just to piss you guys off, but I'm not.
After beating that game, I can't imagine what that DLC is going to be, though. What could happen in that world that I care about now? Because we like.
I haven't beat it yet, so I mean, I don't know exactly how it ends, and if they just wrap it up neatly with a nice, pretty bow. But
Pretty wrapped up, man.
Yeah.
Really?
To me,
Don't spoil it.
Briar,
Yeah.
did you? And this is not spoilery at all, but did you watch the post credits, or are you talking about
Yeah, I
just
did.
where the game?
Yeah.
So to me, the post credits, if you cut that entire scene out and just left it as where the game ended, pre-credits, you had a neat tied up bow. To me, that felt like Killzone was a great franchise for us. We've just created something which is printing money. We need to put something in that lets us do sequel after sequel after sequel, and I think the game doesn't need that.
So let me get this right. There's a post-credit scene that kind of opens up the door for additional games. Gary, that's what you're saying?
Not spoil it?
But he's not spoiling it.
I'm not. I'm just saying, in the same way you go to a Marvel movie and you get a post-credit scene, there is a post-credit scene.
Yeah, there is. Okay,
So is that what you're talking about as far as DLC? Do you think that will allow the DLC to persist, or do you think that's going forward with the next Horizon game?
I'll let you address that one, Briar and Robbie.
It could go either way. I don't have any insight into what they're going to do. They could easily do. They could do more with the current characters. They could do a side story with different characters. I think they really want to stick with Aloy, though, right?
Yeah, man, she's fucking badass.
Yeah, maybe something along that timeline. Maybe they could fill in.
Like
who
no
knows?
other story they could tell in that world is going to be as interesting as the one they just told. That's the
because
problem.
they made a really interesting story.
Cool
Yeah,
even there was like this central pillar of story that I was so fascinated by. Anytime it deviated at all from that, I just wanted to get back to that main story. Like I talked earlier, there's this whole like royal family kind of. It was called a main quest, but man, I could not get interested in it at all. All I want to do is get it done with and out of the way so I can get back to the main story.
Oh, you're talking about over at the estate and stuff? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well,
no, in Meridian, in the big city with the king.
Oh, okay. I think that Aloy is an incredible character. She's extremely lucky. You know, me, I'm a realist. I don't know how she can jump off so many cliffs, turn around, and lasso that. You think at some point in time she's going to miss.
Right?
Yeah.
It did look cool, though.
It sure does.
It looked just as cool like the 30th time you did it, too.
It sure does. It changed that angle.
I think that with Horizon, if you do make subsequent stories and subsequent DLCs, I think you run the danger of damaging the brand. To me, what makes that game, the combat's perfectly functional. It's good. It works. To me, what kept me playing that game was not shooting the dinosaurs. To me, what kept me playing the game was the story. And I've satisfied myself with that story. I've had a bookend to it. Unless the next story is as compelling, it's difficult to catch lightning twice. So that would be my reservation.
What you end up with is a Matrix 2.
Yeah.
Or what is the third one called?
Revelations, is it?
Yeah.
Matrix 3, I believe is what you're looking for here.
Possibly. All right, so here we go again, guys. Speaking of lightning striking twice, February's NPD results have revealed that the PS4 was the best-selling console for the month, and For Honor was the best-selling overall title. For Honor. PS4. Anybody surprised?
No, not really, because I think there was a short window last year where the Xbox One S came out, and there were things about Project Scorpio that started to sell better. But as soon as PS4 Pro was out, it's pretty much just been Sony again, because a lot of people have a PS4, and so their friends want to get one, and I think it just snowballs from there. Like I think so many people own it that they want to get it to play with friends, and it just keeps going.
Quick
so I'm
question.
not surprised by that.
Do you guys think that this month's NPD will result in possibly Nintendo outselling the PlayStation 4?
In March?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yes.
I can't imagine that not happening. Brand new console launch? Boy,
maybe. I'd
major
say maybe,
problem.
to be honest. I don't know.
How many units is PlayStation selling a month?
It's still selling very well.
They're selling
It's
well.
not selling 3.5 million a month,
I mean,
is it?
the PlayStation, whilst it's not a new console, Briar, you will have the launch of Horizon dovetailing with the PS4 Pro, and the Pro is wrapped into the PS4 sales. A lot of people bought the Pro for Horizon, so.
But a brand new console launch is like, you do big
deal.
numbers.
Well, and you got to take into account that the Switch sold 1.5 million in its first week.
Yeah.
Good.
It's pretty phenomenal.
Like, is PlayStation breaking 1 million consoles a month?
I don't think
wouldn't
so.
thought so. The
That
growth
would be-
rate hasn't
They're
been
probably
that.
very
Oh, they
if they
definitely
were.
are, yeah.
They're probably close. I mean, where are they at? 60 million sold The last time we heard about
number,
this?
Yeah.
Global.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, we're looking at 4 years or potentially 4, and how many months is that? So, yeah.
And then also, just before we move on to this, let's also talk about For Honor a bit. Gary, you mentioned to me, and this is very important, that For Honor recently had new micro DLC just announced. Basically, there's a new character animation for each character, and people on like Reddit or N4G basically found out how much real money you would have to actually spend to earn all the things, and it's ridiculous. It's something close to about $800.
To earn $800.
Yeah. So, Briar,
Yep.
you know a game's in trouble when it starts selling emotes and dances for real money. So, I mean, just putting that aside for 1 minute. On a more serious note, the For Honor, someone on Reddit has gone on and said that we've done the calculations. It's not random loot boxes. You buy the item that you want, so it's a transactional thing. It's not just randomized
I like
chance.
that.
So it's that. If you wanted every unlockable on every single character purchased with in-game currency, so doing all the things that Robbie you spoke around, the bounties, the dailies, playing 3 hours a day, you'd have to spend 2.5 years to do it. So that's one thing there. 3 hours a day, every day, 2.5 years. If you wanted the financial side, it's worked out to just under $750.
All right, so
on top of the $60 price.
You come out with this shocking dollar amount, but then it's followed up by, actually, you can get all this stuff by plan. You can buy it individually if you really want something. Is anybody out there going to buy every individual piece of micro DLC for this game, or are you just going to buy like the really cool stuff? Oh, this guy's actually teabagging. I definitely want that emote.
No, but there's so much to buy.
But the one where he dabs, I don't really want the dab, and I don't want the Elaine dance, and I don't want like this and that. I just want like that one cool ass emote. The rest of the stuff, if I earn it, fine. If I don't, who cares?
No, there's quite a lot of them though. Like there is a lot of different stuff they try to get you to buy.
Isn't that a good thing?
I believe so.
There's all this cool stuff you can earn in this game. Not everybody's going to have all the same stuff because to get it all. Yeah, but that's cool though, because the stuff I earn in the game isn't going to be the exact same stuff that you earn in the game, Robbie, or that you earn in Beastly, or that you earn, Gary. If I see something really fucking cool, if Robbie all of a sudden, is floating above the sky, like, with his hands raised, like he looks like Jesus Christ hanging from the cross, I'm gonna be like, damn, that's a cool emote. I want one of those, and I can go to the store and buy specifically that. But the rest of the stuff is all you earn in game. That actually sounds kind of neat.
I think the challenge
Except the way they did it is so poor, though. Like they made it so grindy.
Why?
Because it would take you a billion years.
But that's what I'm saying. That's cool. Because not everybody's going to have all the same shit.
Options, Robbie. It's just options, and people are going to go for what they want. And for the person,
do you need every fucking amiibo, or do you just need the ones that get you cool shit in Zelda?
No,
I just need the ones that I want.
No, you got them all. You got them all.
Gary does need every amiibo.
Every amiibo. No, I mean, Brian, it's a fair point. You don't buy all the emotes in Destiny, and you won't buy all the emotes on For Honor. Right. The umbrage that people have taken with it is that it's a $60 to $90 game, depending on the version that you bought, and they're treating it like a free-to-play. So if Ubisoft put that out free-to-play and then said $750 unlocks it all,
are they selling anything that improves your gameplay? It makes you more powerful.
Yes, you can buy weapon packs. That makes you more powerful.
That's a bad decision right there. If they're selling emotes and there's like a fucking 1,000 emotes and everybody's using different emotes, I see that as a cool thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's not horrible, but the problem is you can't actually get better gear levels. You buy more weapon packs, you'll get better gear faster. That's not fair. Like, that's bullshit.
But that's in 4v4 Dominion, so you can avoid that by just not playing the 4v4 mode, and you completely avoid the pay-to-win element.
True, but it's still a big part of it, though. Like
it is. Just just being impartial on it, I think it's disgusting that they're charging for a AAA title.
It's really stingy. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any passion behind this game. It's all, how can we take money out of people's wallets? Like, it just feels so scummy to me. It doesn't feel like they did this right. They've
lost 50% of their install base in the first month. I think that they should be looking to be inclusive rather than,
In fairness, their first month saw the release of Horizon Zero Dawn and fucking Zelda in the Switch.
That does make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Right.
I was thinking, really, 50%? What the hell happened? And then Briar just laid it all out for me. Absolutely, that happened.
I was trying to paint a good argument there, Briar. I'd rather you didn't ruin my my points.
He's trying to be the devil's advocate. You can't be the only one. For Guzman's Revenge, he asks, is Gary streaming from a space capsule? Gary, tell him exactly what satellite you're streaming from.
I'm streaming from
The
Rasputin's
world of tomorrow
Warsat.
at Epcot.
I'm just hoping no one gets on the Undying Mind and crashes me down. No, yeah, one of Rasputin's Warsats.
I actually love Gary's setup. I think it's very futuristic. It's fucking rad. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Looks good and sounds good.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. The sound is just peak phenomenal. Whisper something, Gary. Whisper in my ear.
You're beautiful.
Oh,
All right. So,
thank you.
that's all I needed to hear. Due to the early success of the Nintendo Switch, the company is now planning to double its overall manufacturing of the console from 8 to 16 million over the next fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing pretty damn good. They're seeing those dollars, and that's what Nintendo wants. But shit,
Get them dollars, baby.
16 million. If you guys had to guess based on the way you're feeling about your Nintendo Switches now, the experiences that you had, and basically word of mouth, people getting their hands around these things and playing with friends. What if you had to guess? What million number do you think this thing will sell in the first year?
What? I don't know.
That's crazy.
What kind of question is that?
Look, it's just a random question, just to throw
I can't
out
even
there.
tell you if I'd recommend you buying the damn thing.
Yeah.
It's completely dependent upon the point I made earlier. It needs, forget the AAAs. I couldn't care less. I've got a PC.
I say maybe around 10 million. Close to that.
If you get indies on it, it will sell. If you don't get indie games on it and you don't get the social games, it won't. You'll play games on the PS4, and
right.
Why am I going to play FIFA and NBA on that when I can play it on the PS4?
Oh, that's a good point.
Right.
Any game that you can play on the PlayStation and still play on the Switch, and you can play on the toilet, I'm going with the Switch.
I'm not. I mean, if Destiny 2 comes out on the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox Scorpio and the Switch, which is not coming out on the Switch, I'm not saying it's coming out on the Switch.
It's never going to happen.
But if it did,
Oh no.
the only reason I would get the Switch version was so that I could potentially play with people who did want to play with me on the Switch.
Yeah,
and then I'd treat it like I currently treat the Xbox is keep saying, yeah, I'll play. Never fucking play because it is so clearly it's going to be the worst version of the game, right? It's going to be it'd be like the Xbox 360 trying to compete with the PlayStation 4. Yeah, you can take it with you, but you're really going to do it?
Why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you?
All right, and so this is actually pretty big news for the old heads out there who really enjoyed the 7th generation of console gaming. Sony has revealed that PlayStation 3 production in Japan is ending soon, suggesting other territories could follow. The
Where
PlayStation
are Iranians going to get the processors for their nukes?
Yeah,
that's a great question.
Your processor's going to come from?
They're going to have to.
Maybe
they could get those Tegra processors out of this.
Yeah, they got to call Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely time, right? Because they phased out the 360, like a year or two ago? That thing is done production. So, this is just following them. So, makes sense.
It's time for the PS3 to just sit on a shelf and people to look at it and say, I remember that you see that giant console over there, that huge one? It looks like you can open
George
it up like a Foreman grill.
Yeah.
That used to play my
Literally got just as hot as one, too?
Yeah, it really did.
I mean, it's
cook some chicken breasts on it if you want. Yeah, open it up.
It is challenging for us to empathise being Western gamers and being in relatively affluent and developed markets. But I think this is probably hitting the tertiary markets and the developing economic countries where they're still buying and playing. The fact that it's still in production to this date shows there's still people buying it. At the moment, I don't think I could go anywhere in the UK or the US and pick a PS3 off the shelf. I don't know, but you'd have to look.
Yeah,
for
I don't know if I could either here.
But then if you're in Central Africa or Southeast Asia, I'd imagine that there's markets where the PS3 is still probably their primary gaming platform.
Yeah,
that would be my view.
And that's why we needed you on the show, Gary. You provide an alternate look at reality because we're usually in our echo chamber of bullshit, but you've breathed a lot of intelligence and new foresight into the Beastly Thought Show, and we greatly appreciate that.
This show
Gary's got a BJ coming after the show.
You got to go first this time, Briar.
Oh my gosh.
Why take turns? Why take turns? Just saying.
All right, what's the next piece of news?
At least Robbie will be
it?
included. That was it. There's
was
one thing
it.
that Robbie forgot this week. Robbie, you didn't forget any Destiny news this
Yes,
week.
he fucking did.
What? What? Wait, what news? I'm trying to think.
There was a Destiny live stream this week.
He really did?
Shit, I did
Yeah.
forget about
serious?
that.
Hey, Robbie, heads up. There's another one on Wednesday.
I know that. I'm sorry. I know. I forgot. I'm gonna be replaced now. This is it.
So
Goodbye.
Bungie's actually doing some cool stuff with Destiny. They're changing the way we play Destiny on a weekly basis. They're adding raids to the weekly director so that like your raids with the challenge mode, they're bringing all 4 raids back. Obviously, we talked about that last week, but they're putting the raids down in the director so that they're part of your weekly event. And you'll get rewarded for them like a weekly event. Nightfalls are getting a big change. They're getting a new modifier called Daybreak, which basically supercharges you as a Guardian. You earn super back, you earn grenades back, you earn melees back at a much faster rate. That's a modifier, though. It's going to be in the Nightfall once every 4 weeks until the end of summer, and then it'll just kind of last until Destiny 2 comes out. What else was in there? They're adding story missions, basically a story mission playlist that's got a higher light level, and it's got modifiers like a Nightfall would. So the theory is you'd load into it like a strike playlist, and you'll just play story missions kind of in a row over and over again, and you'll get rewarded in those story missions with the new Age of Triumph packages, legendary marks. But they'll be a little more interesting because they'll have Nightfall type modifiers too, which is fun. They're also pulling back a little bit on how many PvP events there are. There's going to be 1 weekly event instead of a daily and a weekly. And instead of having 12 playlists total, there's going to be 6 playlists to hopefully consolidate the player base and get better matchmaking.
Yeah.
So that point there, Briar, around the playlist is it was a light stream. It was a very lean stream. I think they stretched it to 45 minutes, talking real slow,
right?
real slow conversation.
Yeah.
But to me, actually, that was the takeaway. And I think it didn't come in the stream. I think it came in a Reddit post, didn't it? Was that right?
Yeah.
So you may remember I did some sort of masochistic job where I went through 400 Crucible games and recorded the locations of everyone that I played, just to get it. So I had about 4,000 people's location, and catalogued if it was a featured playlist or not. So was I playing something that was local people, or was it something that other people are going to be picking off the director? And it turns out that if you play the featured playlists, the ones that are on the director, you're 20% more likely to play someone in your continent.
Right, which makes sense because it's featured.
Exactly.
More
so it's the fact that more people are playing it. So that to me showed that the reason you're getting matched with Southeast Asia again, the guys playing on their PS3s, is because it's just the population is so thinly spread. So to me, putting 6 playlists down, I think we're going to see a significant improvement in quality connection in the Crucible, which impacts players across the board.
Right. And you'd expect anytime anything's taken away from a Destiny player, people get really upset. But the reaction to this has been pretty minimally negative, right? Mostly positive. In that people realize that, I'm going to be sorry that I can't go and play Rumble every day, but hopefully my Rumble experience when I do play is going to be much improved.
And skill-based matchmaking, I think you're going to have a greater pool to choose from.
Yeah.
We're not going to beat that horse to death again, but the fact is that at the top end, if you are either the lowest extreme or the highest extreme, you are playing the same people day in, day out. And I think that anything that can address those gamuts, the high skill and the low skill, great. I'm on board for.
Yeah. But yeah,
Those are refreshing.
Robbie, Destiny fucking news. Take that.
I fucking suck. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm just gonna.
Why don't
Good
you
night.
just add like permanently in the news story, Destiny, Briar,
Something
go.
Destiny. Yeah,
Well,
totally.
now you
Destiny.
say,
Briar,
Gary,
go.
go.
You guys are right. Yeah,
I mean,
I
bro,
missed that
what
stream
do you,
unfortunately. I wanted to watch it, but yeah. I was
what do you
busy that
think,
day, so.
Briar, about these 6 weeks of Daybreak or
I think it's
Mayhem
perfect.
Nightfalls?
We're going to be at our most powerful, right? Most powerful ever as Guardians. in the age of triumph, in the new hope of Destiny, right? And this like build up of, we've defeated Atheon, Crota, Oryx, the Siva crisis. We've done everything. Everything's going swimmingly, and then Destiny 2 shit's gonna hit the fan. You go from the most powerful you've ever been to you're on your heels. You're getting knocked around by the bad guys. I can't remember their name. The fucking Martian guys coming into the tower, taking away all your shit. Yeah. And all of a sudden we've got the Empire Strikes Back of Destiny, right? You got the
oh my god,
the dark story, the tale of the heroes not necessarily doing as well as you'd hope.
Yeah, darkness falls. You got to regain the light.
And do you think that the 6 weeks is significant to the release of Destiny 2? Because I know that's been speculated.
That's been speculated. I don't know. Maybe not. It could be. It could not be.
I was hoping for a hot take there. An exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. Rabbit. Every time I try and guess that, because the 6 weeks would be like the end of August, not necessarily the beginning of September, right?
More or less, yeah. Tail end of August.
Yeah.
I mean, I do suspect that it's coming out like in September, but I don't know what day. One Tuesday in September.
E3, man, that announcement is going to be huge. It'll probably be the biggest announcement there.
Yeah, man, you just got to hope that the facial animator for Mass Effect has not jumped ship to Bungie. They were recruiting a shit ton of people. They were recruiting some people. Just saying.
Don't give them ideas, Gary. Now it's going to happen because you just said that.
Everyone's rolling the Exo there, man. Them robot faces.
You know what? It will save it, though, if Destiny 2 is on the Nintendo Switch and I can play it on the shitter. That's what's going to save that game. Even if the facial animations suck, there you go.
Way.
No way.
The current rumor is that it's not coming to PC either.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah, that would be amazing if that didn't happen.
That seems like a poor decision. What would be the motivation of that? Why wouldn't they?
I don't know why it would. Well, I mean, why it wouldn't happen is because it's been developed as a console game. Bungie's a console game developer.
They want to stick to that, yeah.
They just want to focus their energy on that. Everybody thought they were going to do it. There's been job listings for PC developers, but the most recent rumor is that based on a job listing at High Moon Studios, which didn't include any PC experience, well, that means it's not coming to PC, which is pretty fucking thin ice.
That's
to be going
really speculative. Yeah, that's so really grasping at straws.
But I mean, frankly, we've been grasping at straws for any Destiny news. And for the news that it is coming to PC.
Good point, yeah. It's any little tidbit of information, any sort of thing, we're on.
We know basically nothing about Destiny 2.
We don't know shit, but we love to speculate about it all the time.
That's what the internet's for, Robbie.
I mean, how much would it damage the brand if it continued to be a console exclusive?
I don't think it would damage it.
No. So, what have Bungie got to gain? I think they've got more to lose in terms of development time, compromise around it, the work that needs to go into it to try to captivate a PC market. The issue is if you get this PC platform out there and it looks and feels great in the same way that Call of Duty works best on PC, who's playing it?
Console.
Well, I don't know. I feel like that's just a whole new market for them to sell to the game to, though. I can't see them not doing it. I think it will come to PC.
Oh, okay. It's a good thing, but I don't know whether or not we're going to get the uptake. And again, devil's advocate. I'm a PC gamer. I'd play it on PC if it came out. But I'm just saying, I don't know whether or not it is the ultimate holy grail. I think if you've got an install base across Xbox and PlayStation of near 100 million units, do you really need the PC to be a smash hit?
That's really why I don't think that they do. Destiny was a phenomenon, and it's one of the few games what year did it come out? 2014?
2014.
And it's still being played and talked about, and people are still just enjoying it like it just came out last week. It has myriad DLC updates that have come out. And I think that, if you look at the numbers, you look at how people maintain their excitement about the franchise, I don't think they necessarily need the PC audience. I think that, just the Destiny name, people know that the game plays well. They know what they're, what to get excited about. And the idea of Destiny 2 coming to PS4 Pro, Xbox Scorpio, Xbox One, I think that alone is going to just have people rabid and excited to buy it again.
The thing that excited me about bringing it to the PC, though, is definitely 60 frames per second or better, right? Enhanced visuals, that kind of stuff.
And that makes a lot of sense, but who knows? Maybe at Bungie they don't want to shit on their console audience. And I mean, because the PC is always going to be able to do more than these home consoles. And if you can get just a much better experience on PC, it's going to start making the PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox Scorpio, and One look pretty bad. And
well, that's not Bungie's not in the business of selling
bad,
consoles. They're in the business of selling video games.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, but
That's just
you got to ask
get with a
yourself a
PC.
question:
That's
on
not
why
the
are they
game.
sticking
That's
with the
just because
console?
you bought a PC. That's an expensive investment, so you should get the better experience. I don't think there's any.
They have some form of allegiance, and to me, that's why they're sticking with the consoles. They may not want to sell consoles, but they have some unspoken allegiance to these consoles, and that's pretty evident at this point.
Well,
They make very good console-based shooters. It's undetermined whether that would transfer over to a very good PC shooter.
You've got to think as well that Bungie are going to be making Destiny for the lowest common denominator. So whilst you've got the PS4 Pro and you've got the Scorpio, it's still got to run on the base hardware. So all these bells and whistles, it has to exist in a common ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And for a competitive shooter, quite unquote, Destiny isn't. In a competitive environment, at least, or in a multiplayer environment, the Pro cannot have any advantages. So I think we've got to look at what the PS4 and Xbox One stock are capable of and sort of temper your expectations with that.
I respect that and I agree with that. I think that's a good way to go into Destiny 2 expectations.
Yeah.
But who knows? It could be a competitive shooter this time around, Gary. They could change some shit up. Who knows? We could see that 60 frames per second. Possibly.
Oh, please be 60.
Me too, I want 60 so bad. That would just be so good.
Did you catch up on another podcast that I watched in the week? They were talking about 60 and 30 as a thing, Briar, and there's still a strong likelihood that Bungie are going to go with the 30. It's a more cinematic experience, for one.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Maybe if they're using the same engine.
You've got to make.
I want to hear this argument.
You've got to make significant graphical compromises to take a game from 30 to 60. Granted, things like Titanfall and stuff have, but there's a lot less going on. There's a lot less dynamism in the sandbox. So I guess, to your point, as someone who's not necessarily in the competitive PvP scene, but just deeply immersed into the game, would you want something that's more cinematic and something that had absolutely knockout visuals you've not seen, like Horizon level visuals at 30?
60 frames per second. It's always my answer is always going to be
gameplay.
Better gameplay. It's going to be faster, better gameplay. It's
completely agree.
If you're in PvP, how often have you had a guy he just kind of flashes through your screen? You can't even tell which direction he went into because you saw him for one fucking frame. It was like
right,
and he's gone. And then you're just confused, which way did he go? When you're shooting a guy across, and it's with the 60 frames per second, you're probably going to get better netcode because the game updates faster, which means that that data is going to get sent faster theoretically. Everything gets better when you upgrade the frames per second. And it just looks better.
Argument.
I don't buy the whole cinematic argument. It looks better at 60 frames per second. Things are smoother, they look cooler. It just looks more natural.
I think I'm talking about the amount of processing power that you need to run a game at 60. You can run a game looking a lot prettier at 30, just because you don't have to have that frame lock.
Yeah, but it looks a game with less polygons looks better at 60 than a game with more polygons at 30.
Yeah.
It just looks better. 60 is better.
and a game like Destiny isn't graphically nearly as intense as games like Battlefield or Call of Duty that try to go for this more photorealistic thing, and they've been able to attain 60. So I think that being reasonable with the power of the PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One, and the Scorpio, that the 60 frames per second argument is a very real and tangible one, and I think they should be able to at least try to get that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if they decide, well, we're gonna have Zelda style worlds that you can go and explore, 60 frames per second is gonna be really hard to hit. If they literally finally come through on that promise of, if you see it, you can go do it.
The guys in the chat are saying they want it at 120 frames.
120 or bust, man. 144, you're a pauper.
That's fine. I just
60 frames is the important target. 120 on console, that's not as big of a deal.
Nobody's got 120 hertz TVs. So
that as well.
Really be wasting it.
Oh, Gary does. You see him raise his hand. He said, "Hey, Don't count me out. I'm ready for that shit.
Wados in chat said, so why are movies then shot at 24 frames per second? Well, that's simple because you're not playing it, you're watching it. That's easy.
Ooh, also, that's a
Robbie.
holdover from the past. That's based on, film technology and timing film to go through a camera and then timing it to go over a projector. There's nothing. The only reason we're still using that speed is because it's a holdout from the past. And to our eyes, it looks better, or it looks more cinematic because that's what we've been watching our whole lives. There's nothing that says that they can't go 60 frames per second. It actually looks much more fluid and cool, but it also reveals a lot more of the imperfection of like sets and costumes and like all of that shit.
I mean, did you see The Hobbit?
Peter Jackson, Peter Jackson released The Hobbit.
48 frames per second, and it looked like horseshit. It looked.
I heard it was
that's
weird.
because of the CG and the costume. I mean, the movie was horseshit.
What? No, that was a great movie.
Let me ask you a quick question,
Fuck
guys.
right off. You think The Hobbit was a great movie?
Hobbit was really good. Yeah, the first one? It was.
The Hobbit from 1978 was good. Now shut up. Now let me ask you a question.
You guys. Just shut up.
Briar, someone in the comment section is talking about 30 frames for Destiny, but 30 frames solid. Is it just me, or was it the original Destiny? They pretty much nailed down 30 frames solid. Does that game have lots of hiccups in the frame rate?
It does now, mainly in the raid, in the Wrath of the Machine raid, but I don't see it too often in multiplayer.
Destiny is a very consistent frame rate.
Yeah, I was always thinking it was pretty consistent.
Yeah, I mean, there's been bugs and glitches, things like Firefly crashing the game and things of that nature, but frame rate wise, it's held 30 in PvP. The maps are small.
That's what matters,
the maps you can throw a rock and hit the other side of. They're not graphically demanding. They're small maps.
Yeah. Well, my prediction is when we see it at E3 this year, it's going to be 60 frames. Briar's going to soil his shorts, and I'll be there holding the camera for everybody to
live stream soiling my shorts.
Just looking up. My daughter does that face, Briar. You do it. It's so real. It's so accurate.
I mean, to be fair, I'm trolling, bro. I'm poking you with a 30 frames per second stick at the moment, but
because I know, Gary, that when you go home and PC game, you got a 4K monitor, but you're not cranking the resolution up to 4K and getting 24 frames per second. You'd much rather see 60 frames per second at, like 1620 resolution.
I've got 1080p monitors with 144 hertz. I generally play on those if I'm wanting frames. Yeah.
And we're going to have to get together sometime, Gary, and compare consoles. I don't know if you got more consoles than me. I doubt it, but I did hear you smack down Briar yesterday on the whole amiibo argument, or Friday.
Yeah, whip out your Switches and compare those.
We need to whip them out and compare.
That's how you do it. Whip them out, boys.
I got the Zelda amiibos because, I'm just like into Zelda. And I got a lot of them. I feel like I spent a lot of money on them too because they're like $15 a pop for each one of these things. And Gary told me that he has every amiibo ever made.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, everything that's been released in the UK.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Jesus Christ, man. It's his wife, yeah. She buys all that stuff.
My wife is fucking slipping.
Yeah.
I mean, new standard set, I think, at the Beastly Thought Show.
Absolutely.
For the Wives Club.
Yeah.
New standard set.
I got step the hell up.
I thought I was doing the right thing this morning, putting up new curtains. I shouldn't have been doing that shit. She didn't buy me any fucking amiibos.
You're wasting money on curtains. You could be out there buying amiibos.
Yeah, what the hell's wrong with you guys?
Do you have the classic Link armor in Zelda yet? Fucking no, you don't.
You're doing it wrong, Beastly. Step your game up.
Too many. I wouldn't recommend it. If you want to buy them, man, I'll ship them over to you. Good deal.
The Zelda ones.
He's in a good deal. So if you had to tell me just ballpark, are we talking 70, 60, 70, 100 of those things you have?
Couldn't tell you. 4 or 5 shelves of a display case full of them. 15, so about £20 a pop, maybe.
It's a lot of money.
$1,200, $1,500, maybe less, $1,000. Maybe.
Oh my god!
I don't know.
That's a used car or a week with a very cheap woman. God damn it.
Or 4 years with an expensive woman. That as well.
I actually wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys think about the amiibos in Zelda? Like, they are pay to win, right?
No, not at all.
You don't think they're pay to win?
So Zelda, getting back on the serious note of it.
Got it in his
It's a
hands.
single player game.
It's a good amiibo.
We went across. We've spoken about this offline, but just to reiterate for the benefit of the viewers, Zelda's got a really inverse difficulty curve. So the game starts off with Dark Souls level of punishing difficulty. Your weapons, you've got like a stick you're poking people with that breaks every time you hit them. It's really punishing. I think the issue with Zelda is that the enemies are static. Their levels never increase. So you fight an enemy at the top of a mountain. He's the same difficulty he's always going to be. He's never going to change. You, on the other hand, get better abilities, power, more hearts, more stamina. You know, you become the power creep in the game is really noticeable. So I'm walking around like a shiny golden god. You know, at the point that I'm at now, nothing challenges me. Nothing challenges me. There's no difficulty in the game whatsoever. And the amiibos being pay to win, it helps out for the first 20, 30 hours. After that, the crap you're getting out of those boxes is not worth my time smashing, because the stuff that I'm using is infinitely better than any of it. And
at the beginning, it feels good because like you need those arrows, you need those rupees.
Yeah.
Like there's a chance you can get the classic Link armor, which is awesome.
Which is inferior to every other bit of armor. Even if you rank it up,
except that it's green, Gary. It's green.
But the problem is as well it's not going into spoilers but specifics, but the armor, they've introduced set armors into the game that do a thing for you.
Yeah.
So it's very prescriptive. If you want to do this activity, you should wear this armor because this armor gives you the benefit for that activity. Yeah. So
if you want to climb a mountain in the heat, you should wear this woman's outfit.
Yeah, you should dress in drag, of course.
Right. The obvious answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, again,
so
that's getting into the intricacies of the game. But yeah, there's that's my biggest critique of the game, is that there's an inverse difficulty curve. And the problem is that where the game doesn't tell you that you're going to become this strong, you plow through the content thinking, holy shit, this game's beating my ass. I need to get stronger. And then you get stronger and you think, oh crap, I'm too strong. And there's no way to go back. You're strong.
I just wanted to real quickly touch on this. The guys in the comment section, in the chat, really like you, Gary. People here really find you engaging and exciting.
Well, give them some time.
Give him that, man.
Well, when you guys get to know him,
I'm a real dick after 2 or 3 weeks. Trust me.
The English.
They'll come to hate him just as much as they do the rest of us.
Ghost of ET actually made a comment that I wanted to hit on about Gary. It seems like he knows Gary a little bit better than we do. He said Gary is actually a 50-year-old man. Oh, it's a female. Gary's. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Ghost. She said Gary is actually a 50-year-old man. He's retired from being a bank robber, and he's now relaxing in his manor somewhere in England.
That's how you afford all the amiibos. Oh my gosh, it makes sense.
I'm actually I work at a bank, so it's a long con. I'm casing the joint, and eventually I will.
So you can just take money,
so,
all you want from it. Like, I'm just gonna borrow this.
You're gonna rob the place before you make enough money to retire.
Exactly. No,
one of those two things will happen.
I'm conscious that I look like Robbie's less attractive younger brother, but I promise you, I am 30 years old. Like it is true.
Younger brother, you're 10 years older than me.
I know.
Yeah. You're a
Peter Pan syndrome.
What he's saying is that in Canada, you guys age at twice the rate that they do over in London. So sorry, Robbie.
Apparently, yeah. All right.
So the maple syrup, man, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
Apparently I look fucking old for my age.
And Robbie told me privately before we went live today, the reason he doesn't necessarily think The Legend of Zelda is an incredible game is that the trees, they have apples, but there is no syrup.
No maple syrup. 0 out of 10. Fuck that game.
Wow. You know, Robbie, it just lost a point in my eyes too.
Yeah. See? There you go.
No maple syrup. What the? Why even bother?
Yeah, Nintendo. Get your shit together. Jesus.
All right. I think that's going to wrap it up. I'm going to go get some pizza for the fam. I know that it's been ordered. I got to go get it.
Oh, nice. We had pizza last night. Oh,
my wife is actually deep frying and making some lemon pepper chicken breast and wings. So
that sounds pretty good too.
She knows the keys to a black man's heart.
I'll send you some fried chicken someday.
Man, I'll move up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and break break the seal off Nier Automata. I picked that up today, so that's going to be.
Man, that's supposed to be fucking
on the
sick.
radar.
Good thing.
Yeah,
Platinum
that game's supposed
games.
to be great.
Not touched it, so I'll tell you all about it next week.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about that. I mean, after the Ninja Turtles game, I actually have that for PS4. Was a fucking catastrophe. And Platinum, after making something as amazing as Bayonetta 2, to make Ninja Turtles a beloved childhood game or franchise, and I grew up with the Turtles. For them to do it to the Turtles, I just don't understand why they would do something like that.
All right, guys, I gotta call it. I am getting yelled at. It is literally time for me to get off.
Go get that fucking pizza.
I gotta go get that fucking pizza.
Go get it.
All right, guys, thank you very much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. And thank you. Oh, shit, I lost it. I think it was Tao. Tao with the subscription. Yeah, Toa 91. Thank you for the subscription. We'll be back next week. Thank you, Gary, for joining us. That was great. I'm really happy. Like, I feel like we've now got the power of 4. We're like the Wonder Twins, but we're quadruplets.
Absolutely. One of us got dipped in chocolate.
It's the Baker family. The Baker family right here.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.